Greetings. Hope this finds you well. So I was watching the Electronic Intifada's live stream on their YouTube channel that they did earlier. I'm about halfway through. Highly recommend that outlet. Both they don't put as much out on YouTube, I don't think, or maybe they do. They just started live streaming, and their articles on their website are invaluable. Can't recommend them enough. But Ali Abunimah, not Mina, Nima, I should say, his remarks very, very sobering and just really lays out the reality of the situation for the Palestinians at this point in time. But there are some bits and pieces of hope in there. So thought it was worth sharing his remarks. So let's check it out. So again, Electronic Intifada. There we go. Subscribed, like, and yeah, share. Check them out.
We are the Electronic Intifada. Ali, please take it away.
Thanks, Nora. This morning, our dear friend Rifat Al-Arir in Gaza, who has joined us on this live stream last week, received the horrifying news that his family's home in another part of Gaza was bombed. With great relief, I was able to briefly contact Rifat and learn that he's not yet been able to reach anyone from his family. I cannot imagine the utter horror, devastation, and grief he, like so many other people in Gaza, are facing. We're thinking of him and praying for his family.
It's like something like 50 Palestinian families in Gaza have been completely wiped off the face of the earth, and it's genocide. It's pretty easy to see that.
His safety. Earlier today, I also contacted another friend from Gaza who is in Istanbul, and I asked him about his family. He wrote back, "Unfortunately, my uncle and his entire family were wiped out. My brother-in-law's family were wiped out. I lost at least 36 persons from my relatives and close friends."
36, imagine. 36 family members and friends just dead. It's hard to fathom the level of death and destruction, that's the ethnic cleansing, the genocide that is going on, is being committed against the Palestinians with the full support of the US government, UK, Germany, the EU. And you have a few dissenting voices, Ireland, Colombia, but the collective West aiding and abetting this genocide.
Friends. I know of no words to say except those that we customarily say. Allah yarham ash-shuhada wa yasabbir hibba'ahum. May God have mercy on the martyrs and grant patience to their dear ones. The reality is that no one in Gaza knows from hour to hour, let alone from day to day, if they will still be alive.
Put your phone on silent. Silly Ali.
I'm sorry. Death can be anywhere and everywhere. Death can be anywhere and everywhere.
I mean, just think about that. Wherever you're at, if you're outside walking, if you're in your house, if you're at work, if you're somebody in Gaza right now, you don't even have power. Food and water have been cut off. There's no electricity. There's no internet. There's no sanitation. Hospitals are being bombed. Journalists are being killed. 1,000 children have been murdered in the past 9 or 10 days.
The morgues are full, the cemeteries are full, and now the people are being buried in mass graves. The UN has said that Gaza is even running out of body bags. I think of the friends and relatives of people from Gaza who are abroad, who do not know if the lack of a text, of a WhatsApp message, or a tweet from their loved ones in Gaza is because of the collapse of the electricity and communication systems caused by
hunger, thirst may kill Gazans spared by Israeli bombs. So spared by the bombs, but then you might die from dehydration or hunger. I mean, look at that. Little fucking kids.
by Israel's attack, or because they too have been killed in this Holocaust.
That
Today,
look
Israel's
at that. It says Palestinian children at the site of an Israeli airstrike in Rafah refugee camp, southernmost Gaza, October 15th. And they're bombing refugee camps, hospitals. They told people to evacuate. They're bombing those convoys. They're bombing the borders with Egypt where they told people to get. I mean, it's genocide. It's ethnic cleansing. It's genocide.
Campaign of extermination by air, land, and sea in Gaza is in its 10th day, killing Palestinians at a rate of one person every 5 minutes.
And a child, I believe, every 15 minutes.
Israel is sparing nothing and no one, including hospitals, ambulances, doctors, and journalists. The number of confirmed dead is now approaching 4,000, including more than 1,000 children. Many more are under the mountains of rubble, beyond rescue, beyond hope. That means that Israel, with its allies in Washington, London, Berlin, and Brussels, has exterminated almost 2 in every 1,000 Gaza residents and 1 in every 1,000 Gaza children in just over a week. This is genocide. This is a Holocaust, planned and perpetrated openly and with the full support of the United States and European countries. Over the decades, there has been a mountain of books, articles, lectures, seminars, sermons, movies, documentaries, you name it, asking the question, how can evil happen while this world watches? Why did no one stop Hitler's Holocaust? Admonitions to learn the lessons of never again inundate us every day.
Yeah, it's happening right now. It's happening again.
Well, now we're watching this in real time. In Gaza, those who survive the bombing may well die of dehydration or diseases as drinking water, which Israel has cut off, is rapidly running out, as is food. What water there is cannot be pumped without electricity, forcing people to drink and give their children polluted water. More than 1 million people have been displaced in a confined territory in which nowhere is safe and there is no shelter. But here it is again. And some of the most powerful people in the world are not merely silent, but are actively assisting the extermination campaign.
Corporate media, Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken.
Obviously, the biggest culprit is the United States, which has given Israel a green light for genocide. Joe Biden is flying bombs to Israel to kill more babies, to bury them in rubble and in mass graves. No less lethal is the campaign of lies that provides the justification for genocide. Biden himself spread the inflammatory lie that Hamas fighters
There's a hill. Fucking Biden's got a first class fucking ticket.
Beheaded Jewish babies. He may be the most powerful accomplice in this slaughter, but he is far from the only one. They are countless. but one which caught my attention today is David Lammy, the Foreign Affairs spokesperson for Britain's Labour Party. He went on national television and actually claimed that Palestinians had raped Jewish babies.
Fucking
This
crazy.
unspeakable lie, this Nazi-like demonization and incitement against Palestinians places the blood of the children of Gaza firmly on the hands of those who spread them. What's most galling is that these soulless people are willing to help murder Palestinian children for nothing more than a better job, a ministerial car, another junket, a few more votes. They must be held accountable, and so I was happy to see that this morning the International Center of Justice for Palestinians issued a notice to the leaders of Britain's Labour Party that it plans to bring prosecutions against them for complicity
That's awesome.
in war crimes and crimes against humanity. And indeed, in the Genocide Convention, complicity in genocide is a punishable crime. This came after the same legal advocacy group sent similar notices to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and other government officials. While they spread these deadly lies, the truth is coming out, not just about the utter horror that Israel is inflicting on civilians in Gaza, but also about what happened before. Late last night, the Electronic Intifada published a bombshell report that I urge you all to read and share as widely as possible. An Israeli woman, Yasmin Porat,
I already shared on my Twitter. You should do the same.
who survived the initial Hamas assault on settlements near the Gaza boundary on the 7th of October, says Israeli civilians were undoubtedly killed by their own Israeli security forces. It happened when Israeli forces engaged in fierce gun battles with Palestinian fighters in Kibbutz Be'eri.
I'm going to see that covered in corporate media. Israeli forces shot their own civilians. Probably not.
And fired indiscriminately at both the fighters and the Israeli prisoners. And it likely happened elsewhere too. They eliminated everyone, including the hostages, Porat told Israeli radio. There was very, very, very heavy crossfire and even tank shelling from the Israeli side. She talks about the Israelis firing tanks at the kibbutz house where she had been hiding. The woman, a 44-year-old mother of three, said that prior to the Israeli assault, she and other civilians had been held by the Palestinians for several hours and treated humanely. That's her word. This explosive revelation is now being suppressed. Porat's interview has been removed from the website of Israel's state broadcaster Kan.
You wonder why, right?
But the Electronic Intifada has published the recording along with subtitles and a transcript. Please share it as widely as possible. The accomplices in the ongoing extermination campaign built on lies, and there are many of them, include US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is today back in Israel to continue offering support not just for a genocidal extermination campaign, but also ethnic cleansing. In recent days, we've seen disturbing reports that Blinken has been touring the region to urge various Arab regimes to support what is, in effect, a final solution for the Palestinian people in Gaza, their expulsion by Israel to Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, where they would begin another horrifying chapter of mass dispossession. We saw, for example, the report in the Egyptian publication Mada Masr last week, which reads that Egyptian sovereign agencies fear that Egypt's weak position may lead Israel, with American support, to propose a plan to resettle Palestinians in Sinai, a matter that Egypt has repeatedly rejected over the past 2 decades, especially if this proposal is linked to incentives such as writing off a large portion of its debts or any other economic incentives. According to the sources, this is Mada Masr writing, there are concerns that the Egyptian administration sees this as a potential reprise of the 1991 Gulf War model, when late President Hosni Mubarak agreed to a military intervention exchanged for dropping a significant portion of Egypt's debts, especially if Gulf countries join these demands and exert pressure on Egypt. The veteran investigative journalist Seymour Hersh also wrote this week that his sources are telling him that the United States is trying to convince Egypt to allow the expulsion of a significant part, if not all, of Gaza's 2.3 million people. The Americans want them to be relocated to a tent city in the desert funded by Qatar, according to Hersh. That would then allow Israel to effectively destroy Gaza. Hersh writes, with the starved out civilian population forced to leave, the Israeli operational plan calls for the Air Force to destroy the remaining structures in Gaza City and elsewhere in the north. Gaza City will be no more. Israel will then begin dropping American-made 5,000-pound bombs known as bunker busters. Antony Blinken, the American angel of death, has admitted that so far he is having difficulty.
Another person is going to go to hell if there is such a place.
Selling this plan for ethnic cleansing and genocide around the region. On Sunday, Blinken denied supporting the ethnic cleansing plan. The Secretary of State...
he supports it outright with the unconditional support of Israel and what they're doing.
It said, quote, I've heard directly from Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and from virtually every other leader that I've talked to in the region that the idea is a non-starter, and so we do not support it. But we should take no reassurance from this. Note what Blinken did not say. He did not say that ethnic cleansing, the forced removal of an indigenous people, is morally wrong.
It's because the other people didn't support it, so he couldn't, even though he does.
Humanity, which violates every notion of law and decency. He merely called it a non-starter because he didn't find enough support for it. Presumably, he will continue to look for that support and keep trying to build it. So the danger is grave. And we should not make the mistake of underestimating the fanaticism and willingness of the genocidal regime in Tel Aviv to take full advantage of what they undoubtedly see as an historical opportunity to complete the ethnic cleansing of 1948. And if they succeed in Gaza with the flashing green light from the West and inaction from the rest,
they've gotten so far,
they will turn their sights next to the West Bank and then to the Palestinian population in so-called Israel, the Palestinian territories occupied by the Zionists in 1948. Nor should we take any comfort from President Biden's statement on 60 Minutes last night that it would be, quote, a mistake for Israel to reoccupy Gaza in full. He once again reaffirmed that Israel has his full permission to go as far as it wants.
Fuck that guy, and whoever says vote blue no matter who because it's harm reduction, fuck off.
Biden stated, quote, Israel is going after a group of people who have engaged in barbarism that is as consequential as the Holocaust. And so I think Israel has to respond. They have to go after...
It's just like projection, right? If anybody's being barbaric here, it's the Israeli government carpet bombing Gaza, cutting off water, food, electricity, internet, bombing hospitals, murdering 1,000 children the past 9 or 10 days, targeting journalists, targeting convoys fleeing, targeting border crossings. Okay.
To Hamas, he said, Hamas is a bunch of cowards. They're hiding behind the civilians. All of this is a license to kill, a license to continue exterminating Palestinian civilians and particularly Palestinian children. Because if the Palestinians are Hitler, according to President Biden, and if what happened on October the 7th is as consequential as the Holocaust, then what is not permitted? The United States and its allies used atomic weapons against their enemies in World War II. They firebombed entire cities with the full sense of moral superiority because they were fighting the evil of Hitler. On Saturday, we received a voice message by WhatsApp from our dear friend Ahmed Aburtema, the writer and one of the founders of Gaza's Great March of Return, the non-violent mass movement which in 2018...
And they were shot by Israeli snipers, marching non-violently for their cause.
Israel met with military snipers, murdering and maiming thousands of unarmed people, rallying for their rights along the Gaza boundary.
Think about
I'm
that.
relieved to say that Ahmed was still able to text me this morning, in fact, just a few minutes ago, although he only gets a few minutes of connectivity a day. But I want to come back to the words Ahmed sent us on Saturday. He wrote, "The priority now is to protest. We need very, very, very huge protests in the United States, in Europe, everywhere to say enough, to say stop the genocide. So please do what you can. Go out and join a protest or organize one. Call all your representatives." I know we all struggle with the knowledge and the reality that there is little we can each do individually. But remember that a little is not nothing, and it is what we have to do. And also remember that what has happened is bad enough. What is happening is bad enough. But a ground invasion will be much worse. The glimmer of hope is that it hasn't happened yet, and maybe if we...
ground invasion would also mean a lot of casualties on the public casualties on the Israeli side.
make enough noise, we can still stop it. Thank you. Thanks, Nora.
Powerful remarks. Excellent analysis, per usual, from Ali Abunimah. Highly rate the Electronic Intifada. Check out their website. Lots of amazing articles of all the atrocities happening right now towards the Palestinian people. Peace, much love. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be